The mining vessel Helios drifted through the asteroid belt of the Proxima Centauri system, its massive collection arrays casting long shadows across the ancient rocks. In the ship's observation deck, Commander Sarah Chen watched the ongoing excavation with growing unease. Something about this particular site had been different from the start. The unusual energy readings, the inexplicable equipment malfunctions, and now the strange dreams that had been plaguing her crew for weeks. "Commander, we've got something." Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled through the comm. "You're going to want to see this." Sarah made her way through the ship's corridors, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The Helios had been humanity's pride when it launched 5 years ago, the first deep space mining vessel equipped with quantum drilling technology. Now its pristine walls bore the scars of countless mining operations, each scratch and dent a story of humanity's relentless push into the cosmos. The excavation bay was chaos when she arrived. A crowd of technicians and miners clustered around a central platform where a single object lay, a perfectly smooth, obsidian-black sphere about the size of a basketball. It seemed to drink in the light around it, and Sarah could have sworn she saw patterns shifting beneath its surface. "It was at the center of the asteroid," Rivera explained, his dark eyes never leaving the sphere. "The energy signature is off the charts, but it's not like anything we've ever seen before. It's not radiation, not electromagnetic. It's something else entirely." Sarah approached the sphere carefully. As she drew closer, a familiar sensation crept over her, the same one she'd been experiencing in her dreams. A kind of resonance, as if something was trying to communicate directly with her consciousness. "Has anyone touched it?" "No, ma'am. We followed quarantine protocols to the letter." She nodded, but her attention was fixed on the sphere. The patterns beneath its surface had become more distinct now, forming and dissolving like smoke in water. Without conscious thought, she reached out toward it. "Commander, wait." Rivera's warning came too late. The moment Sarah's fingers made contact with the sphere's surface, the world exploded into light. Energy surged through her body, and suddenly her mind was filled with impossible knowledge. Symbols, equations, concepts that seemed to rewrite everything she thought she knew about the universe. She saw humanity's past, present, and a multitude of possible futures, all interconnected by threads of what she now understood was magic. Real, quantifiable magic, as fundamental to the universe as gravity or electromagnetism. When the vision cleared, Sarah found herself on her knees, gasping for breath. The sphere had changed, now glowing with a soft, purple light that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Around the excavation bay, every screen and holographic display was filled with cascading symbols, the same ones she'd seen in her vision. "Commander," Rivera helped her to her feet. "Are you all right?" Before she could answer, the Helios's emergency sirens began to wail. Chief Engineer Patel's voice came over the ship-wide comm. "Multiple objects just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. They're massive, and they're heading straight for us." Sarah rushed to the nearest viewport, Rivera close behind her. In the distance, she could see them. 7 enormous ships, their designs unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. They were organic-looking things, all swooping curves and iridescent surfaces that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "This is High Commander Vexthor of the Drachnid Empire." A voice boomed through every speaker on the ship, its tone imperious and ancient. "You have activated the Nexus Key, a power that belongs to us by right of conquest. Surrender it immediately, or face extinction. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." Sarah looked back at the sphere, the Nexus Key, still pulsing with its purple light. In her mind, she could still see fragments of the vision. Humanity's potential future as wielders of both technology and magic, and the terror that potential struck in the hearts of those who had hoarded such power for millennia. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of what she'd seen. "And begin analyzing those symbols. If war is coming, we need to understand what we found." The next 24 hours passed in a blur of activity. The Helios's quantum engines strained as they pushed to reach the nearest jump point, while Earth's governments scrambled to respond to the Drachnid ultimatum. Sarah spent hours in debriefing sessions, trying to explain what she'd experienced when she touched the Nexus key. The symbols it had released were already yielding results. They described a system of energy manipulation that defied conventional physics, a science so advanced it could only be described as magic. More disturbing were the historical records embedded in the key's data. The Drachnids had not been lying about their claim by right of conquest. They had spent millennia systematically hunting down and destroying any civilization that showed the potential to wield both magic and technology. Humanity's discovery of the key had exposed an ability they had long sought to eliminate. In her quarters, Sarah studied her reflection in the mirror. Purple lines of energy now traced patterns beneath her skin, flowing like circuits when she concentrated. Whatever the key had done to her, it had changed her at a fundamental level. She wasn't the only one. Across the ship, crew members were reporting strange abilities, from minor telekinesis to spontaneous energy manipulation. "Commander," Rivera's voice came through her comm. "The analysts have finished their preliminary report on the Drachnid ships. They're not just advanced. They're using the same kind of energy we're seeing in the key's data. They'd been using magic all along, keeping it for themselves while destroying anyone else who might discover it." Sarah clenched her fist, watching the purple energy patterns flare in response to her anger. Then it's time humanity learned to use it too. Have Dr. Wang's team started production on the neural interfaces? Yes, Mom. First prototypes should be ready within the hour. Good, because we're not giving up the key, and we're not going to let them destroy us. Sarah turned away from the mirror, her decision made. The Drachnids want to prevent us from reaching our potential. Then they shouldn't have shown us what we're capable of. As the deadline approached, humanity prepared for war. The Nexus key had awakened something long dormant in human beings, an ability to perceive and manipulate the fundamental energies of the universe. With their technological expertise and newfound magical capabilities, they might stand a chance against the Drachnid Empire. But first, they had to survive the coming storm. Sarah watched from the Helios bridge as the first wave of Drachnid ships entered weapons range. Purple energy coursed through her body, ready to be channeled through the newly installed magical amplifiers. Humanity's first steps into a larger universe would be baptized in fire, but they would not walk that path alone. The key had chosen them for a reason, and she intended to prove it had chosen wisely. "All hands," she broadcast across the ship's comm. "Prepare for combat. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will not be denied its destiny." The stars seemed to hold their breath as two civilizations, one ancient and stagnant, one young and awakening, prepared to clash. The sixth siege was about to begin, and with it, the next chapter in human evolution. 3 weeks after first contact, Earth's orbital defense platforms were transformed into something their designers had never imagined. Purple energy cores pulsed within reinforced chambers, merging ancient magic with modern technology. Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching as another wave of engineers received their neural implants, streamlined versions of the interface she'd helped develop aboard the Helios. The Drachnid ultimatum had expired, but their expected assault hadn't immediately followed. Instead, they'd established a blockade at the edge of the solar system, their massive ships forming an ever-tightening noose around humanity's cradle. They were waiting for something, and Sarah feared she knew what it was. "Latest simulation results, Commander," Dr. Wang announced, her holographic form materializing beside Sarah. The scientist's avatar flickered with traces of purple energy, a side effect of spending too much time interfaced with the new hybrid systems. "The neural enhancement grid is stabilizing. We're seeing a 60% increase in magical aptitude among implanted personnel." Sarah nodded, absently touching the small crystalline node at the base of her skull. The NEG had been her idea, a network of satellites designed to amplify and stabilize humanity's emerging magical abilities. Without it, their powers were wild, unpredictable. With it, they had a fighting chance. "Commander," a voice cut through her thoughts. "We're detecting energy spikes from the Drachnid fleet. Multiple ships are moving out of formation." The massive holographic display at the center of the command center shifted, showing the position of enemy vessels. They were moving with purpose now, their formation suggesting they'd finally committed to their attack plan. "They've waited long enough," Sarah muttered. "They wanted to give us time to think we could fight back. Now they'll show us how wrong we are." She straightened her back, raising her voice to address the command center. "All stations, battle positions. This is not a drill." The first attack came not as a bombardment, but as a wave of invisible force that swept through the solar system. Throughout Luna Base, unimplanted personnel collapsed, clutching their heads in agony. Sarah felt it too. A psychic assault meant to shatter their confidence and break their will to fight. But humanity had been preparing. The NEG hummed to life, its network of satellites creating a protective barrier around Earth and its colonies. Purple energy coursed through the neural implants of military personnel, transforming the Drachnid attack from a weapon into a source of power. "They're testing our defenses," Sarah announced, watching as the enemy fleet split into 3 prongs. "Show them what we've learned." Earth's orbital platforms responded, launching volleys of missiles enhanced with magical signatures that made them nearly impossible to track. Drachnid point defense systems, designed to counter conventional weapons, struggled to adapt. The first hits struck home, magical explosions rippling across their organic metal hulls. But the Drachnids hadn't survived for millennia by being unprepared. Their counterattack was devastating. Beams of concentrated magical energy that cut through space like burning knives. 3 defense platforms vanished in seconds, their crews barely having time to evacuate. "Energy spike from the flagship," the sensor officer called out. "They're deploying something big." A sphere of darkness expanded from the Drachnid command ship, similar in appearance to their standard weapons, but fundamentally different. As it passed through space, it left behind a void where magic simply ceased to exist. The NEG satellites in its path went dark, their purple energy cores snuffed out like candles in a hurricane. "Magic dampening technology." Dr. Wang's hologram flickered as she analyzed the data. "They're trying to cut us off from our powers." Sarah watched the void approach, her mind racing. In the 3 weeks since discovering the Nexus key, she'd spent countless hours interfaced with its database, learning everything she could about humanity's forgotten potential. Now, staring at the approaching darkness, she saw something the Drachnids had missed. "Reroute all power to NEG Satellite Cluster 7, she ordered. "Dr. Wang, initiate Protocol Prometheus." "Commander, that's still experimental," Wang protested. "We haven't tested it under combat conditions. The Drachnids think they can simply turn off our connection to magical energy." Sarah's purple circuit patterns glowed brighter as she interfaced directly with the NEG. "They don't understand what we've discovered. Humanity doesn't just use magic. We generate it." Through her neural implant, Sarah could feel the collective energy of every human connected to the NEG. It wasn't just power they were sharing, but consciousness itself, forming a gestalt of human will and determination. As the void approached Cluster 7, she directed that combined force into the experimental protocols they'd developed. The satellites began to pulse with increasing intensity, their purple energy transforming into pure white light. When the void reached them, instead of being snuffed out, they exploded with power. The dampening field shattered, its fragments dissolving into sparks of harmless energy. "Impossible," the words came through the command center speakers, a Drachnid transmission they hadn't meant to broadcast. Their power should be gone. The field was perfect. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Launch the Firebirds." From concealed hangars around Luna Base, squadrons of fighters emerged. They were the first of their kind, craft piloted by humans whose neural implants let them interface directly with hybrid magical technological systems. As they engaged the Drachnid ships, they moved with impossible grace, their pilots channeling magical energy through technology in ways the enemy had never seen. The battle raged for hours, both sides adapting and counter-adapting to new tactics. The Drachnids brought centuries of magical combat experience, but humanity's innovative combination of magic and technology repeatedly caught them off guard. When the enemy finally retreated to regroup, leaving behind 3 destroyed vessels, the feeling in Luna Base was not of victory, but of grim validation. "They'll be back," Sarah said, addressing the tired but proud faces around her. "And they'll be better prepared. But now, they know what they're dealing with. Humanity isn't just another species to be culled. We're something new." In her mind, through the NEG interface, she could feel the determination of thousands of humans, their collective will hardening into an unshakable resolve. The Drachnids had spent millennia enforcing their doctrine of magical supremacy, but in doing so, they created the perfect crucible for humanity's emergence as something unprecedented, a species that could not only use magic, but transform it through the lens of scientific understanding. As repair crews worked to restore damaged systems and medical teams treated the wounded, Sarah returned to her study of the Nexus Keys data. Their victory today had been significant, but she knew it was only the beginning. The real war was just starting, and humanity would need every advantage they could get. The massive hull of the TSS Prometheus cut through the void of space, its hybrid magical technological engines leaving trails of purple energy in its wake. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement since the discovery of the Nexus Key, a vessel designed from the ground up to harness both conventional and magical power. Sarah Chen stood on its bridge, watching as the rest of the battle group assembled for Operation Thunderbolt. 2 months of constant warfare had changed everything. Humanity had learned to fight back against Drachnid incursions, but defensive victories wouldn't win the war. The enemy still held the initiative, and their blockade was slowly strangling Earth's supply lines. It was time to take the fight to them. Battle group reports ready, Commander. Captain Marcus Rodriguez announced from his station. The neural interface at his neck pulsed with energy as he coordinated with the other ships through the NEG. "The Drachnids still haven't detected us behind Titan's magnetic field." Sarah nodded, her attention fixed on the tactical display. The operation had been months in planning, built around a discovery she'd made while studying the Nexus Key's historical records. "Begin the countdown. All ships prepare to jump on my mark." The Prometheus's bridge hummed with tension as the crew made final preparations. They'd stripped down 3 NEG satellites to create the ship's core, allowing it to generate its own magical enhancement field. 5 other vessels of similar design formed the spearhead of humanity's first major offensive, each crewed by veterans of the early battles. "Enemy patrol detected," the sensor officer reported. "Standard sweep pattern. They'll pass beyond detection range in 40 seconds. Time it with their departure," Sarah ordered. "The moment they transition to quantum space, execute the jump." She could feel the ship's energy building through her neural interface, conventional and magical power synchronizing in perfect harmony. The Drachnids believed they had perfected the art of combining technology with magical energy over their millennia of dominance, but they'd grown complacent, never imagining that a younger race might find new approaches to ancient problems. The patrol ships vanished into quantum space, and Sarah gave the command. "Execute jump. Operation Thunderbolt is go." Reality twisted as 6 human vessels performed a maneuver that should have been impossible. They didn't just jump through space. They phased through the quantum barrier while maintaining a magical enhancement field, something the Drachnids had long considered theoretically impossible. The technique had emerged from studying how the Nexus Key had originally been hidden, and humanity had turned it into a weapon. They emerged in the heart of Drachnid-controlled space, directly above their primary forward operating base. The massive installation sprawled across an captured asteroid, its defenses oriented toward conventional attack vectors. They never expected an enemy to penetrate this deep into their territory. "All ships, commence attack pattern Delta," Sarah broadcast. "Remember your training. Show them what humanity can do." The battle group split apart with practiced precision, each ship targeting predetermined objectives. The Prometheus led the charge, its main guns combining magnetically accelerated projectiles with concentrated magical energy. The first salvos struck before the Drachnids could raise their shields, tearing through their supposedly impregnable defenses. Chaos erupted as the enemy responded to the unexpected attack. Ships rose from the asteroid's surface, their organic metal hulls flowing into combat configurations. But in their surprise and confusion, their reactions were uncoordinated, lacking their usual tactical precision. Multiple enemy ships launching, Rodriguez reported. They're trying to establish a containment pattern. Let them come, Sarah replied, her hands dancing across the tactical interface. Execute Phase 2. The human vessels began emitting a complex magical signature, one that made them appear to multiply in the enemy's detection systems. It was another innovation born from studying the Nexus Key, an understanding that magical energy could be used to manipulate quantum probability itself. The Drachnid fleet fragmented, trying to engage targets that existed in multiple states at once. Their rigid tactical doctrine, unchanged for centuries, proved inadequate against an enemy that refused to fight according to established rules. But amid the success of their surprise attack, Sarah felt a nagging sense of wrongness. The Drachnid response, while confused, seemed almost prepared, as if they'd been expecting something like this, just not quite in this way. Commander, the comm officer's voice was tight with tension. We're detecting a transmission from inside the asteroid. It's using one of our encryption protocols. Sarah's blood ran cold. Source: it's coming from near their central command center. The signature matches Colonel James Weber's personal codes. The name hit like a physical blow. Weber had been part of the original Helios crew, one of the first to receive a neural implant. He'd disappeared during an early skirmish, presumed dead when his ship was destroyed. But if he was here, priority alert to all ships, Sarah broadcast. Possible security breach. Prepare for. Her warning came too late. Throughout the battle group, ships began losing power as their hybrid cores fluctuated wildly. On the tactical display, Sarah watched in horror as the seemingly scattered Drachnid fleet suddenly moved with perfect coordination, their formation shifting to take advantage of the human vessel's sudden vulnerability. They knew, she whispered. They learned our capabilities because they had someone helping them understand how we think. The Prometheus shuddered as enemy fire began to penetrate their weakened defenses. Emergency alerts blared across the bridge as systems failed one by one. But through her neural interface, Sarah felt something else, a familiar resonance, similar to what she'd experienced when she first touched the Nexus Key. The asteroid's surface was cracking, revealing something beneath its artificial exterior, something that pulsed with the same purple energy as the key, but vastly larger. The Drachnids hadn't just built a forward operating base here. They'd built it around another artifact, one that might hold the answers they desperately needed. All ships, emergency protocols, Sarah commanded, her mind racing to adapt their strategy. Divert all power to defensive systems and prepare for tight beam data transmission. If they could survive the next few minutes, if they could get any data about what the Drachnids were hiding here back to Earth, then maybe this operation wouldn't be a total loss. But as enemy ships closed in around them, Sarah knew the cost would be steep. The real question was whether humanity could afford to pay it. The skies above Earth burned with unnatural darkness. 3 days after the failed Operation Thunderbolt, the Drachnids had unleashed their ultimate weapon, the Void Cascades. Sarah Chen watched from the ruins of Luna Base as waves of anti-magical energy rolled across Earth's atmosphere, each pulse leaving behind zones where reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. Status report on the planetary shields, she demanded, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing emergency orders. The command center was operating on backup power, its walls scared by magical feedback when the first cascade hit. Dr. Wang's hologram flickered into existence, her usual composed demeanor shattered by exhaustion. The NEG is failing, Commander. We've lost 60% of our satellite coverage. The remaining nodes can't maintain the defensive barrier much longer." Through her neural interface, Sarah could feel the truth of those words. Earth's magical defenses were being systematically dismantled, and with them, humanity's best protection against the Drachnid fleet. The knowledge Weber had given them had allowed the enemy to craft a weapon specifically designed to counter human magical capabilities. "Show me the latest analysis of the cascade patterns," Sarah ordered, forcing herself to focus through the splitting headache that had plagued her since the attack began. The holographic display shifted, showing the spread of void zones across Earth's surface. "They're not random," Dr. Wong pointed out, highlighting specific areas. "The cascades are targeting major population centers, but they're also following some kind of geometric pattern. It's almost like they're drawing something." Sarah finished, her mind racing. The pattern tickled something in her memory. Symbols she'd seen in the Nexus Keys database, but arranged on a planetary scale. A sudden commotion at the command center's entrance drew their attention. A team of researchers burst in, led by Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the head of the archaeological division. His clothes were covered in moon dust, and his eyes blazed with an almost manic intensity. "Commander, we found something," he announced, spreading a collection of ancient tablets across the tactical display. When the first cascade hit, it revealed these in the lunar bedrock. They were hidden by some kind of magical camouflage, waiting to be discovered. Sarah studied the tablets, her neural implant automatically beginning to translate the familiar symbols. "These are like the records from the Nexus Key, but older. Much older." "They're instructions," Tanaka explained, his hand shaking with excitement or fear, possibly both. "The Drachnids aren't just trying to destroy us. They're trying to complete a ritual that began thousands of years ago. The void cascades aren't a weapon, they're a key." The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. The patterns of destruction across Earth weren't random acts of warfare. They were part of a carefully orchestrated plan, one that had been set in motion long before humanity had reached for the stars. "Commander," the sensor officer's cry cut through her thoughts. "Multiple quantum space ruptures detected. The entire Drachnid fleet is moving into position around Earth." The tactical display updated, showing hundreds of enemy ships emerging from quantum space. They arranged themselves in a formation that exactly matched the pattern of the void cascades, their massive hulls humming with concentrated magical energy. "It's not just about destroying our defenses," Sarah realized, the pieces finally clicking into place. "They're using Earth itself as a focal point for something bigger, something they've been planning for millennia." Through her neural interface, she could feel the collective fear and determination of every human still connected to the failing NEG. The Drachnids had brought humanity to the brink of extinction, but in doing so, they'd revealed their true purpose. The question was whether that knowledge had come too late to make a difference. "Dr. Wong, how many of the original NEG satellites are still functioning?" Sarah asked, her mind already formulating a desperate plan. 17, Wong replied. "Barely enough to maintain communication links between major command centers." "And the Prometheus? Did any data make it back from Operation Thunderbolt?" "Partial transmission only. The ship's sensors recorded some readings from that artifact they found, but most of the data was corrupted during their emergency jump out." Sarah closed her eyes, focusing on the fragments of information flowing through her neural interface. The Nexus Keys database, the ancient tablets, the patterns of the void cascades, all pieces of a puzzle that humanity had stumbled into blindly. "Dr. Tanaka, these tablets, do they say anything about why the Drachnids are doing this? What they're trying to achieve?" The archaeologist's face was grim. "They believe they're the rightful inheritors of some ancient power, but according to these records, they're wrong. The power they're trying to claim, it was meant for us, for humanity." Another void cascade swept across the Earth, larger than any before. Through the command center's windows, Sarah watched as the darkness consumed cities and continents. But in that darkness, she saw something the Drachnids had missed: patterns of purple energy, barely visible, moving against the flow of the cascade. "They think they're unmaking our connection to magic," she muttered, understanding flooding through her. "But they're actually forcing us to evolve. Every cascade is pushing us to adapt, to change, to become something new." The question was whether humanity could survive that evolution. As the void zone spread and the Drachnid fleet tightened its noose around Earth, Sarah knew they were running out of time to find out. Earth's atmosphere rippled with conflicting energies as the final battle began. The Drachnid fleet had completed their formation, their ships pulsing in harmony with the void cascades that now covered most of the planet's surface. In what remained of Luna Base's command center, Sarah Chen made her last preparations, surrounded by humanity's remaining leadership. "The Nexus key is responding to the cascades," Dr. Wong reported, her hologram now stable thanks to the artifact's growing power. "Its energy signature is unlike anything we've recorded before." Sarah nodded, feeling the changes through her neural interface. Every human connected to the NEG could sense it, a transformation taking place at the quantum level, affecting not just their technology, but their very beings. The Drachnid's attempt to sever humanity's connection to magic had instead awakened something dormant within their DNA. "Their ritual is nearly complete," Dr. Tanaka said, studying the ancient tablets with growing urgency. "According to these records, the Drachnids believe this process will grant them absolute control over magical energy throughout the galaxy. They've done this before, to other species, other worlds. But they've never tried it on Earth," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the pain coursing through her body. The purple energy patterns beneath her skin had spread, forming intricate designs that matched the symbols on the tablets. They never understood what humans really are. Through the command center's windows, they could see the Drachnid flagship descending through Earth's atmosphere, its massive hull parting the void cascades like a knife through water. Colonel Weber's betrayal had given them the confidence to attempt this final strike, believing they understood all of humanity's capabilities and weaknesses. "Commander," Rodriguez's voice came through the NEG, transmitted from one of the few remaining human ships in orbit. "The enemy fleet is channeling energy into some kind of focal point. Whatever they're planning, it's happening now." Sarah closed her eyes, reaching out through her neural interface to connect with every human still linked to the network. She could feel their pain, their fear, but also their indomitable will to survive. The Drachnids had spent millennia perfecting their control over magical energy, but they'd forgotten its true nature. "Dr. Wong, initiate Protocol Omega," she ordered, opening her eyes to reveal pupils that now glowed with purple light. "Dr. Tanaka, begin the recitation from the tablets. Everyone else, prepare for neural synchronization." The Nexus key, housed in a specially constructed chamber beneath Luna Base, began to pulse with increasing intensity. Its energy resonated with the patterns being carved into Earth's quantum fabric by the void cascades, creating harmonics that the Drachnids had never anticipated. "Unknown energy signature detected," the sensor officer reported, his voice filled with awe. It's coming from the humans on Earth. All of them, not just those with neural implants." Through the NEG, Sarah could see it happening. Every human being on the planet was beginning to generate the same purple energy that had first manifested in the Helios' crew. The Drachnid's ritual wasn't just affecting those connected to their technology. It was awakening something fundamental to human nature itself. The enemy flagship reached its designated position, settling into the heart of their carefully constructed pattern. High Commander Vexthor's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Witness the price of defiance. Your species will serve as an example to all who would challenge the natural order." But as the Drachnids initiated the final phase of their ritual, something unexpected happened. The void cascades, instead of collapsing inward to crush humanity's connection to magical energy, began to resonate with the purple light emanating from Earth's population. The darkness transformed, becoming a conduit for human consciousness itself. "They don't understand," Sarah broadcast, her voice carrying to every human mind through the NEG. Magic isn't just about power or control. It's about connection, about potential, about the ability to grow and change. That's what humanity represents: endless adaptation, infinite possibility. The Nexus Keys chamber erupted with light as Sarah channeled the collective will of humanity through its ancient matrix. The tablets had revealed the truth. Earth had been seeded with magical potential eons ago, waiting for its inhabitants to reach a point of technological and spiritual advancement where they could handle such power responsibly. The Drachnids had evolved to be perfect channelers of magical energy, but humans had evolved to generate it. Every void cascade had forced that potential to express itself more strongly, accelerating an awakening that should have taken centuries into a matter of days. Impossible. Vexthor's voice held genuine fear now. The ritual cannot be corrupted. The power must flow to the worthy. It is, Sarah replied. Her consciousness expanded beyond normal human limits by the NEG and the fully awakened Nexus Key. It's flowing to everyone worthy of it. Your mistake was thinking you alone deserved to wield it. The void cascades transformed completely, becoming streams of purple energy that connected every human being on Earth into a vast network of shared consciousness and power. The Drachnid fleet found their ships enveloped in humanity's combined potential, their carefully constructed ritual turning against them. In orbit, the remains of Earth's defense forces witnessed something unprecedented: the emergence of humanity as a true Nexus species. Every human being became a focal point for magical energy, their collective power overwhelming the Drachnid's ancient technology through sheer evolutionary potential. The enemy fleet's formation broke as ships began to flee, their crews confronting the reality that they had not been fighting merely another primitive species, but the next step in cosmic evolution. Humanity had not just survived their ritual, they had transcended it. As the void cascades dissipated and the purple energy settled into a stable network connecting all of humanity, Sarah Chen stood in Luna Base's command center, forever changed, but unshaken in her core identity. The war was over, but humanity's journey was just beginning. Send word to all Earth forces, she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's first steps into a new era. The sixth siege is broken, but our work is just beginning. We have a galaxy to explore and a power to understand. This time, we'll do it right. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if responding to humanity's emergence as a species capable of bridging the gap between technology and magic, between individual achievement and collective potential. The Drachnids had tried to prevent human advancement, but in doing so, they had catalyzed something unprecedented: the birth of a civilization that could forge its own destiny among the stars.